Hello everyone, this is Mukundan Raghavan, and in this video we are going to cover the measures of spread. In previous videos we have seen the central tendency of the data set. Basically we are finding the middle point or balancing point. Some of the examples that we have covered in the previous videos are mean, median, mode, which will give the central point of the data. However, it is also essential to understand the measures of spread. The main reason to measure the data spread is to understand the variability or consistency of the data. It clearly tells us each data point how it is deviating from the average or how it is deviating from the central point, so that you can clearly understand the data are closely clustered or it is widely spread. This is also example where we need to understand the data spread so that we can clearly see whether it has some outliers, whether it is so consistent or so variable. Let's try to understand the same with some real example. Imagine you are in the Paris. In Paris, the travel places will be divided in zone 1, zone 2, zone 3 and so on. Just to understand this simple example, let's consider two zones. As you see in the screen, yellow part considered as a zone 1 and sandalwood color would be considered as a zone 2. Even if you want to cover only the places inside the zone 1 which are in yellow, still the central point will be somewhere middle of the yellow circle. Imagine the another group is trying to cover some places in yellow, also the places which are in the sandalwood color. Basically their coverage is widespread when compared to the group 1. Still the central point will be somewhere in the yellow circle. Basically the central point will be same for both the circles, no matter whether the spread is less or more. So it also implies that in data sets, even though you find the middle point, for example, we take it as a average as the middle point, there might be a cases where you have two data sets. The average might be same for both data sets. It does not mean that both will be having the same spread. The same example that you see in the window, even though the center is same for both circle is same, some people might cover only the yellow circle. Some people would like to go for even outside the yellow circle, including the sandalwood color. So that's the reason finding about the variance or finding about the variability or the data spread is essential in statistics. Let's go with a simple example using the Excel sheet. Let's start with simple example range. Imagine you have the height in centimeters varying, let's say 150 to 170. Range would be giving a very simple example or simple range how much your data is spread. It's a easy formula. Maximum value minus minimum value will be your range, so that you can find out your data is spreading across this range. And this range will give you how much the smaller value is away from the bigger value or vice versa. However, this range will not help you in case if you have the outliers. And also, it is not considering all the data points in your data set. It is considering only two data points which are maximum and minimum. However, variance is the measure which tells us how much data values each data values vary from the average, considering all the data points. Now in the screen you can clearly see dataset 1 and dataset 2. For simplicity, I have already calculated the average for both dataset, which are 11.5 and 11.5 respectively. Since both dataset have the same average or same mean value, it does not mean that it has the same spread. How to find out the spread? Very simple example. In this table you can see each value will be minus from the mean value, so that you can understand how much it is deviating from the mean value. If your dataset value or your individual value is lesser than the average value, then the difference would be in negative. Whereas if your value is greater than the average value, your difference would be in positive direction. In statistics, we all know that we could not say the deviation with multiple data points. Like each deviation, we need to tell it in single point or single input. So for that reason, we try to just sum it up everything. However, if you sum it up everything, you will get the 0 as the value. Why? Because the negative values may be balance the positive values. So that we cannot tell the 0 as the variance. Because if you tell 0 as the variance, that means that data points are exactly on the 11.5. All the data points, which is not actually the case. Then we need to balance this or we need to manage this so that we need to find out the other metric. So for that reason, we are just squaring up all the values. The squaring function is very easy, that whether it is a positive or negative, it will give the same value. That means that minus 5, if you square it, it will be 5 squared or 25. The same way, plus 5 also if you square it will give the same 25. However, we are removing the negative symbol. So by this we have squared everything. Then we will sum it up. Then we will find the average for that. So this average tells 13.92. Now we have done the same exercise for the dataset 1 also. Now here you can see the variance is 0.58 for the dataset 1 and 13.92 for the dataset 2. For example, if you see 11.5, dataset 1, all the values 10, 11, 12, very close to the 11.5. Whereas if you see the other values in the dataset 2, 5 and 16, which are far away from the 11.5, either positive or negative directions. Even though the average value is same in dataset 1 and dataset 2, in dataset 2, the values are away from the mean value, especially the 5 and 16. So that means that it has more spread or more variance. Whereas in dataset 1, it has a consistent data point very close to the mean. So this is the way we can understand the variance, or by using the variance, we can see whether it has a wide spread or clustered towards to the mean. What are the steps we have followed? It's very simple. We find the mean, basically 11.5. Then we subtract the mean from the each value. Yes, we found the deviation or the difference. To remove the negatives, we just square that each value. Then we submit up. Then we found the average by the number of data points that we have. In simple words, if you try to explain the variance, it is the average of squared deviations. If we come from the last deviation, yes, deviation from the average each data point, and we will square it to remove the negative sign. After squaring up, we will sum it up and find the average. So average of squared deviations is variance, and this variance will be useful in coming sessions to understand the standard deviation and the bell curve. So to conclude this video, we have seen why it is required to understand the data spread, basically to understand the variability or consistency of the data set. And also we have seen the simple example about the Paris zone. Basically, if you want to travel in the small circle or big circle, central point will be the same. The same concept we have come up with the two data sets where the central point or average is same for both data sets, whereas one data set is widely spread, another data is very close to the mean. And we also have seen that the basic steps how to find out this variance, and also we know that the variance will be used in the future sessions for understanding the standard deviation and bell curve. And this is all about this video, and always be a rainbow in others cloud.